Good morning, evening, or night, Mr. Blois, whenever you're going to be watching this. This is going to be my video for my PowerPoint presentation on the midterm, that project that we had, and my question was, how did the Soviet Union use propaganda to both slander capitalism and reinforce the idea of communism? I got this idea simply because of the last few writing assignments you've been giving us have to do with propaganda, and they've all been really from either British, French, or American eyes. Some have been from Germany, but many of them have just been from capitalist countries, and I don't think we've seen many from communist countries. And I want to see how they slandered America, how they portrayed capitalism to be a bad idea. Okay, and propaganda gives a single view of an idea, and that is kind of what it's supposed to. It's made to make you want to join the side that the propaganda poster is wanting you to join. In communism, that side would have been to join the Soviet Union, and that side would have been to join the labor union. And it's usually meant, well, we know what propaganda is, but it's usually meant to either slander one side of conflict, one side of a group, or to reinforce the ideas or beliefs of the group that they want you to be a part. And so I chose 3 different propaganda posters to look inside and find out what they mean, what were they trying to do, and what was the history behind them. And the first one I chose was the space race, which was a race like no other, that was a race to have the first person on the moon. And in 1961, the Soviet Union sent the first cosmonaut into outer space, and he returned, which was a huge landmark in the space race because it was the first human person that had ever been in outer space. There was like monkeys and dogs and rats before them, but this was the first human, and his name was Yuri Alexeyevich. I'm probably butchering that, but they had a poster of 2 cosmonauts standing over the Soviet Union's people and basically being heroes. The Soviet Union people are dying over, they're not dying, but they're fainting over how proud they are, and they're all cheering for these 2 giant cosmonauts floating above them. And I think that one was made to reinforce the idea of communism and how good the Soviet Union was. And like it was to make them believe that they're better than the US, because the US hadn't gone to outer space yet. Only the USSR had. And I think that this space race poster was really meant to be reinforcing the ideas of communism, but it didn't slander America directly too much. My second poster is about capitalism, and it has like a greedy, fat, ugly, dragon-like looking man on top of a giant pile of gold. And this one was directly slandering US capitalism and the idea of greedy businessmen that wanted nothing but just power, wealth. And you can see in the background behind this man, you can see that there's a spider web, which is the web that all these minor citizens and workers get trapped in by the upper class wealthy businessmen that were running their lives. Kind of ironic, because the Soviet Union was running the lives of its people directly. But this one was meant to make capitalism look like some ugly abomination that entrapped its people. My third and final propaganda poster was about the workers of the Soviet Union, and the USSR was basically built on labor. They had the 5-year plan. They had the second 5-year plan, which was all about increasing the economy simply by working on nothing but steel and food. And so the men are hammering away at machinery. And the caption that this poster says is, "We smite the lazy workers." And at this time, in the USSR, they had the gulags, which were basically, they were prisons that were awful. They should have been meant for the worst of the worst. They were up in Siberia, and there was very little food. It was always freezing, and they were treated terribly. And many just random people that were maybe caught slacking off in the Soviet Union were sent to these gulags. And by the usage of smite, I think it means that they will send anybody that is a lazy worker to the gulag. And I think this was made to cause fear in the hearts of the Soviet Union, and make them want to work harder, or else they would go to the gulag. So that one didn't directly slander America, but it also didn't really paint communism in the greatest light. Just kind of caused fear in the people. And so when I reflect back on this, I think that, one, I couldn't find any of the artists. I found for some of the paintings or posters that I didn't use but I still saw, there maybe was an artist name. I think I saw one, but I couldn't find these guys. And I think that really reflects on how communism really didn't just take part in the economy, but really in the whole history of the USSR. And it really shows that nobody really was important, except for, of course, the leaders, which doesn't really make communism. But you can't find many of these artists, and I think that's to show that they were just one of the thousands. You don't put your name on a loaf of bread that you create. Why would you put your name on the poster that you created? It's not right. And so these cartoons were exactly what I was looking for, and I believe it really did describe how the USSR viewed capitalism and how it also reinforced its communist beliefs, not only by pride but also by fear, which is a very powerful thing. If you can master fear, you can control the population. And I found these sources rather quickly. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer, but these sources, they didn't really give me much trouble. I think that I had my major source was a PBS documentary, and that really did most of the work for me. And I think that that's really what helped me. My second source was more or less to find the pictures that I wanted to use to get inspiration. But I think that I learned something during this project. I really think that I learned how dangerous propaganda could be, not only in the hands of your enemy, but also how it is in the hands of your enemy to their citizens, by fear and the gulags. Again, thank you, Mr. Blois. Sorry about not wearing a shirt.